Hello and welcome to the Compass webinar today, the Q&A on You Decide Who Decides. We'll be talking about enduring powers of attorney for financial decisions, which is called, I should say, in the Northern Territory, an advance personal plan. So, welcome to you as you join us. I'm just going to introduce myself as Brett Osmond, the editor of Compass. Compass.info is Australia's national information hub on tackling elder abuse, raising awareness about abuse in all its forms, and providing information to help prevent and respond to abuse. Compass has over 1,000 resources and over 500 service providers around the country dealing with a range of topics. And one of those is about an advanced personal plan. So today's session, I'm really thrilled to have Solomon Berhane with us, who is a solicitor from the Darwin Community Legal Service. Solomon, welcome.
Thank you, Brett. Good to be here.
Now, we have a small group with us today, and so I'm really looking forward to chatting with you. We're going to be specifically talking about an advanced personal plan and how it affects people living in the Northern Territory, how you make one, why you would make one, what are the benefits of having one, what happens if you don't have one and you lose capacity, how to choose the right attorney to act with you and on your behalf, and what are some of the issues and things people need to be aware of. And we'll also tackle things like how do you make one, what's the best advice, how often they should be reviewed, and we'll be taking your questions. So the thrust of today is very much a Q&A. We'll be using the Q&A rather than the chat. I have activated that. And there is a welcome message there to say welcome to you all. Hopefully you can see that and are able to ask Solomon and myself questions through the Q&A. We did have an issue earlier this week, so if there is an issue and we have to revert to the chat, we will do so. But the Q&A is our preferred. So with that in mind, I think I wanted to start with an initial question, Solomon, which is, what is an advanced personal plan, known in other states and territories as an enduring power of attorney?
Very good question. Now, an advanced personal plan, it's informally referred to as a living will. So similar to a will where people make arrangements for after they pass away, an advanced personal plan is really a document where you're making arrangements for your personal and or financial affairs in the event that you can no longer make those decisions for yourself. It can include things like appointing decision makers to make decisions on your behalf. It also can include things like making healthcare decisions in advance, which can either provide guidance to a decision maker or a medical practitioner as to what your wishes would be in a specific situation, or it can give legally binding directions about the medical treatment you do and do not consent to.
Right, thank you. And I mean, I think one of the things we've mentioned just briefly is that it's called an enduring power of attorney in other states and territories. Is an advanced personal plan essentially the same legal document as it is in the other states and territories? Does it cover the same aspects of your life?
So it's one of the issues with federation is that all the states and territories have their own names for these documents. They generally cover the same things. When there's confusion about the concept of an advanced personal plan versus a power of attorney, so there are two forms of power of attorney. The first one is called a general power of attorney. That's when someone can make decisions for themselves, but they just prefer to delegate them to someone else.
And what would be a typical circumstance for using a general power of attorney?
So an example could be if you're going overseas for vacation and you want a family member to manage your bank account in the meantime to ensure payments are being made. Now, with the general power of attorney, it lapses. So a person makes it when they have the legal capacity, and it will be revoked once either they revoke it themselves or once they no longer have legal capacity themselves. Now,
Right.
there is a second document called an enduring power of attorney. Now, from the 17th of March 2014, you can no longer make an enduring power of attorney in the Northern Territory. But if one was made before the 17th of March 2014, it still remains in force until it's revoked. The difference between a general and enduring power of attorney is the person makes it when they have the capacity or have legal capacity. But unlike a general power of attorney, which will cease once the person's capacities become impaired, an enduring power of attorney will continue beyond that.
Right. Yeah.
Now, an advanced personal plan is the document that's come in to replace the enduring power of attorney. Now, that's made when the person has planning capacity, so they're not under an adult guardianship order, which we'll discuss more in detail later.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the capacity to basically make a plan. They understand enough to be able to make those decisions in the advanced personal plan.
Right.
Now, the advanced personal plan then is basically a legally valid and effective document once it's made, but the authority of a decision maker of one's appointed is not conferred, or they do not have that authority until the person's capacity is proven to be impaired. Unlike an enduring power of attorney where the authority was conferred before decision-making capacity was impaired.
Right. Right. Now, you've spoken a little bit there about capacity, which is essentially someone's ability to make decisions. And a document like this has to be prepared, I think you mentioned, before you lose the ability to make decisions. So what does that ability mean? I mean, I've read somewhere that it means that you understand a question that's being put to you, that you can weigh up, um, you know, various options, and that you can communicate your answer, which doesn't necessarily have to be verbally, does it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so you just need to be able to communicate it in some way.
Yeah.
Now, an issue of federation is that there are different tests for capacity based on context or what the legal issue is.
Yes.
But adult guardianship in the Northern Territory and advanced personal plans have a consistent test. So it's to be able to understand information, to be able to lay up that information and consider it, to then make a decision after considering that information, and then to communicate that decision in some way. And as you outlined before, it does not have to be communicated verbally.
Right.
Now, typically, capacity, it can change, it can vary. It can be
Yes, that was my
episodic.
next question, actually. Can it vary? And is it permanent if you've lost it?
So it isn't permanent.
Is it
There are some
permanent if you've been
circumstances.
deemed to lose capacity? Is that a permanent state, or can it be reversed?
So theoretically, it can be reversed because capacity is at a point in time. So some people, for example, I could be in a coma. I don't have capacity at that stage. I
Yes.
could recover from that, and that could be the end of it. Or someone that has is diagnosed with schizophrenia, whilst they're experiencing an episode, maybe their capacity is impaired for certain decisions. But once they recover, you could argue that capacity has returned at that stage.
Yes.
Yes, capacity is also decision specific. So it's not a blanket capacity is impaired for everything. Generally, there's extents or a degree of capacity.
So
So
you could have the capacity to make daily decisions about what you eat, where you live, but you might not be able to make more complex financial decisions, or
correct.
yeah.
And that's a spot on explanation. And it is ultimately these schemes are about being the least restrictive possible.
Right.
So it's not about trying to deprive someone of their liberties. It's basically to get that assistance for the things that you cannot make decisions for.
Right. Yeah. Now we have a question already here from Deborah. Deborah asks, can you still make a general power of attorney in the Northern Territory, or has it been replaced by the advanced personal plan?
Very good question, Deborah. Good clarification as well. So again, today I'm limited to general information, but thankfully this question falls within the scope of that. So a general power of attorney can still be made in the Northern Territory. It's a separate document from an enduring power of attorney. So general you can still make, enduring power of attorney can no longer be made.
Now, I'm just going to jump in. Some of you might be listening that the actual connection with Solomon is a little shaky. Actually, it does get better, Solomon, when you lean closer to the
Okay.
computer, interestingly. So if you are, when you're answering, just able to lean forward and your voice, if it's louder, actually is coming through clearer. So thank you for that, Deborah. Please send through your questions. I'm going to jump in with one myself. Why would somebody consider making an advanced personal plan?
It's a very good question. Now, I'm just going to preface the answer by stating that no two people have the same circumstances. They can vary from person to person. And if you have specific questions about your situation, you should seek legal advice. We at Darwin Community Legal Service provide free legal advice on matters relating to advanced personal planning. And it's as simple as just picking up the phone and dialing 89821111. I'll just repeat it one more time, 89821111. And if it's something we can help with, we can book you in for a free legal appointment.
Wonderful. I mean, it's really helpful to know that people can do that. Are the forms available, the forms required for an advanced personal plan? I know they're available on compass.info under our powers of attorney section and click on Northern Territory. But I'm assuming you also have those forms available at the Darwin Community Legal Service.
Yeah, correct. We would, if someone was inquiring about that or seeking advice on making an advanced personal plan, we'd ordinarily provide a copy of the document as well. And it's also available on the Northern Territory Government website. I don't know the exact uniform resource locator, but if you Google advanced personal plan, Northern Territory Government, it should come up as one of the results. Now, to the
Now, what
question why
happens if you
someone
don't
may
have one?
consider
Sorry,
making
you go.
if you don't have the template form.
No, what
So
happens if you don't make an advanced personal plan? What if you decide that it's not right for you? And what happens if you lose capacity?
So a very good question. Now, the way I like to explain it is related to another concept that people generally are more familiar with, and that's the will. A will and advanced personal plan, they're completely different documents, they're completely separate, but you can use one as an analogy to explain the other. Now, generally, people over their life, they acquire assets and they will make a will to make arrangements for how those things are going to be dealt with when they pass away. If they don't have a will, normally what will happen is the court will need to decide how those affairs are going to be managed and how those assets are going to be distributed. It's sort of similar with the advanced personal plan. So if you make an advanced personal plan and your capacity is later impaired, it's sort of like passing away of a will. There's an arrangement in place. There's a plan that you've set out that outlines what your wishes were in that situation. Now, if in the Northern Territory, if your decision-making capacity becomes impaired and there is no advanced personal plan, someone, so an interested person, has to generally apply to the Northern Territory Civil and Administrative Tribunal for what's called an adult guardianship order.
Yes.
And there will be a guardian appointed upon the presentation of satisfactory evidence that the person's capacity is actually impaired. But a guardian would then be appointed to make decisions, and there would be an order specifying what decisions they can make.
Right. So really, at the end of the day, writing your own advanced personal plan really gives you more control I think, doesn't it, over the decisions that you would like to be made on your behalf.
Correct. Yeah, it gives you more of a say in the process. Generally, in guardianship proceedings, they do ask for the views and the wishes of the person, but ultimately, that's just a consideration in deciding who to appoint as a guardian. It's not the same as an advanced personal plan where you're actually promoting certainty by appointing someone. How I would describe it is the advanced personal plan is more focused on certainty of what the outcome will be. Or promoting certainty over what the outcome is most likely going to be. Whilst guardianship is more of flexibility. You don't really have the same say over what the outcome will be. And there could be something unexpected happen, like someone that you may not prefer to be your guardian getting appointed.
Yes, yes. Now, thank you to everyone who have put in some really helpful links and phone numbers to assist people. One of the things I wanted to explore or discuss with you is the fact that, in our dealings here at Compass, we get a lot of inquiries, and there's this sort of understanding that people think, oh, an enduring power of attorney or an advanced personal plan is a stock standard document. That's not right, really, is it? You can personalize it. You can put instructions that you can put limitations in as well. So, do you, when you're talking to people, encourage them to put in, specific instructions or limitations so that their attorneys can, I suppose, be more informed? There can be some more control as well over what kind of decisions get made.
Yeah. So that's probably the important thing about this. It's a document which it's literally the only person that matters when someone's filling this out is yourself. You
Yep.
are deciding who decides, but you're not just only that, but what they decide and how they decide it. People will customize it, but again, it will depend on the specific circumstances that that person is anticipating. Again, if someone's unsure, the safest thing to do is to seek legal advice.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So we've got a few questions here. I'll jump in. A question from Emily. Um, the NT Advanced Personal Plan form asks for signature of the financial decision maker. If the financial decision maker doesn't sign, is that in that part of the form, is that part of the form considered invalid?
So generally, my understanding is that it is a specimen signature. Um, I could take it on notice and try and provide some general information in writing if that would help.
Yep.
Just so I'm not answering it on the spot. My understanding is it's a specimen signature rather than an actual execution of a document.
Yep.
But I'll confirm still.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we've got another question here from Deborah. Is an advanced personal plan a document for the living and replaced by a will once you have died? Well, I think essentially, yes. It's
Yeah,
advanced personal plan is only active while you're alive.
correct. Yeah.
Once somebody has died, it's the will that comes into play. So yes, Deborah, that is correct. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about in the Northern Territory, when you design and get your advanced personal plan written up, can you appoint more than one attorney? And are they called attorneys in the Northern Territory?
So in the Northern Territory, they're called decision makers.
Decision makers?
And it's because ultimately their role is to make decisions. Now, some people get confused. I might just quickly, it's a bit of a tangent, but I think it's
Yep.
important. A lot of people will say, oh, but this person's my carer. That's not the same thing. A
Right.
carer provides care, a decision maker makes decisions. They can be the same person, but at the same time, they could also be completely different people. Ultimately, it's whoever's put in the advanced personal plan, whoever's appointed under that plan as the decision maker, is the decision maker.
Hmm.
Now, as to the number of decision makers, it's as many as the person wants.
So it's
They
not
could,
limited to three or four.
Correct. It's as
Wow.
many decision makers as you want. And again, the purpose of that is it's because you're deciding who decides. It's your decision, and you have the right to make that decision as you see fit.
Okay.
Um,
Can you assign for them to make decisions like what's called severally or independently or jointly? Do you have that capability?
and again, this is the beauty of the advanced personal plan. It's ultimately it's what you want. Um, and with the decision makers, usually there's three ways it can be done. You can appoint them jointly to make decisions jointly.
Mm-hmm.
That means that all decision making has to be unanimous, so they all agree.
They all have to agree.
They
Yeah.
all have to agree. The benefit of this is that there's increased oversight because everyone is being consulted and agreeing. The downside is that it can slow decision making down. And if they can't agree, normally what will happen is they will have to apply to the Northern Territory Civil and Administrative Tribunal, present their case as to why their decision is the most aligned with what your wishes are, or if they can't work out what is the most aligned decision with your wishes, that their position is in your best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tribunal will make the decision. So that's the jointly. Severally means that any one of the decision makers can make the decision. They don't all have to agree.
Yep.
The benefit of this is decisions can be made quite quickly. The downside is there's a lot less oversight. You could have a decision maker that's making decisions that the others don't agree with or are not really aware of. Now, the final thing, again, the beauty of the APP is it's about you. There's also an other option. So you can actually outline what situation you want and how you want the decision makers to make those decisions. So it's sort of a customized option. Again,
Wow.
I'd probably seek legal advice if you had any queries about how you wanted to phrase things in there.
Uh-huh. So I guess it's about striking a balance. You don't want so many decision makers that it's unwieldy, it's too complicated, and takes too much time to make decisions. With balancing that with people having oversight, because it's a powerful document, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a powerful document. You're conferring a lot of power on someone, but also a lot of responsibility that they should be taking seriously.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is really about the individual and what's best for them.
Uh-huh.
No two people are the same.
Yeah. So let's get on to this. I want to talk a little bit about choosing the right people. Because as we've kind of mentioned, it's a powerful document. You can be making a lot of legal decisions. Actually, just before we do that, do you have to register your advanced personal plan in the Northern Territory?
So you do not have to register it.
Uh-huh.
It's up to the individual whether or not they want to. But it is generally safer to do so. Usually you can register it for free with the public trustee.
Mm-hmm.
You can register it with the Land Titles Office. Now, if your advanced personal plan is conferring power on a decision maker to deal with land, it has to be registered with the Land Titles
So if they're
Office.
going to sell real estate on your behalf, which is quite possible if, for instance, your living circumstances need to change or your healthcare needs to change, so it has to be registered in that instance. Yeah.
In the Land Titles Office, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But Land Titles Office, my understanding is there would be a fee. It's obviously not going to be that large. It'd be a bit more than $100, I imagine.
Right.
Public trustee is free.
Yeah.
Now, the other helpful thing that some people can do is giving a copy to their healthcare provider, like their doctor or their hospital if it's involving healthcare decisions.
Yes.
And making family and friends aware of it as well, so they know what the current arrangements are when the decision maker is doing things. Because unlike guardianship, where there's a regular reassessment process where the tribunal reviews the guardian's performance to make sure that they're complying with the Act, there's no equivalent process with advanced personal plans. It really relies on someone to identify something that the decision maker may be doing wrong and then raising those concerns with either the Office of the Public Guardian or applying to the tribunal, so the Northern Territory Civil and Administrative Tribunal, to address the situation.
Mm-hmm. Now, I wanted to ask you about a particular scenario. Say we've got someone living in the Northern Territory, they've got an advanced personal plan, they own real estate in another part of Australia. So they've got property in Western Australia or in South Australia or wherever. Do you have to register the advanced personal plan in the state where you own property if someone needs to sell that property at some point in time?
So it's a good question. There is a mutual recognition scheme between the jurisdictions, but I think personally a better system would be if we just had a federal body that does all this and a
Right.
uniform plan, advanced personal plan across jurisdictions. Now, I think that if someone is going through that situation, they should seek legal advice because it's going to be based on the specific circumstances of that case and the specific laws of the two different jurisdictions. I don't think it's something that can really be answered generally.
Yeah. Now, at this point, I did want to highlight once again, compass.info has a comprehensive section on enduring powers of attorney and advanced personal plans with lots of information and many different articles about choosing an attorney, being an attorney. There's a checklist as well for how to prepare and register an advanced personal plan in the Northern Territory and lots of answers to questions. But yes, that one probably does need individual legal advice. But a really important thing for people to think about, particularly if their resources or funds are locked up in real estate and they may need to be sold at some point in the future. Now, I just wanted to get on to, thank you to everyone who are sharing very helpful information about registration fees and where you do that. I wanted to ask you a question about choosing the right decision maker. Who makes for a good decision maker? I mean, what are the qualities and characteristics that a good decision maker should have?
So, in the context of an advanced personal plan, it's someone who's going to comply with the Act, so the responsibilities under the Advanced Personal Planning Act. So if they're making financial decisions, they're going to be managing property as trust property. So they're keeping the person who's under the Advanced Personal Plan's assets separate from their own. They're not mixing money in bank accounts. They're not using the other person's resources. It's also important in how they exercise their authority as well, their decision-making authority. There's two concepts that I'm just going to outline. They're called supported decision-making and substitute decision-making. Supported decision-making is about trying to help someone with impaired decision-making capacity make a decision themselves. Substitute decision-making is when you just make the decision for the person with impaired decision-making capacity. Guardianship is a substitute decision-making model. It's focused on the best interest test. So it's basically we determine what the best interest of the person is, and that's the decision we have to make. Advanced personal planning is an attempt to implement supported decision-making. So that's the way you're enabling someone who has impaired decision-making capacity to make their own decision. So typically what a decision maker needs to do is they have to try and work out in the first instance how the person would have made the decision for themselves if they had capacity. And if they can form a conclusion on that, that's how they have to make the decision.
Yeah.
Now, only in circumstances where that's not possible, so that cannot be ascertained, does it fall back to the substitute decision making, which is the best interest test. It's sort of like the safety net beneath, rather than the go-to with the guardianship jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Now, another really important thing to note is if you don't trust someone, it's probably not a good idea to appoint them as a decision maker.
Yes.
Even if there's no one else available, it could be safer to let it fall to the guardianship jurisdiction, because then at least the person, if someone applies, they have to prove their suitability and they will be assessed on their performance. But I think the main thing is, if you don't trust someone now, it's probably not a good idea to appoint them as a decision maker on an advanced personal plan.
Yeah. So really, at the end of the day, it seems like trust is the most important quality, because this document could be active for a very long time. So you have to trust them. to make the right decisions for you. You talked a little bit there about supported decision making, and this concept that I think is really, really important, isn't it? That you're not making the decision that you want for that person, but you have to make the decision for what you think they want. And so you have to sort of almost put aside, don't you, your own necessary values, or, you might think that spending money in a certain way is doesn't make sense or is frivolous, or you have to put those sorts of assumptions aside and actually act on behalf of the person and what they would want. And so I think that's a very important message. Thank you for sharing that. We have a really terrific article on Compass called Supported Decision Making and what it means, how to go about doing it, and why it is increasingly becoming law around Australia and the world. It's interesting, in the rest of the country, it's called an enduring power of attorney. Having that word power there can necessarily give people the impression that they have, this sort of unbridled power to make decisions on other people's behalf. And that is really not the case. You are really making the decisions on behalf of somebody else. Now, we've got a question here from Penny. Can the advanced personal plan be registered at any time prior to losing capacity?
Prior to losing, yeah, correct. It can be registered at any time. So if you normally someone just needs to go to the Office of the Public Guardian and Public Trustee, and there'll be a registration form, and they just give that to them, and they register a copy of it.
Right.
Land Titles Office as well. It's just a matter of visiting the Land Titles Office, filling out the form, paying the filing fee and then getting it registered.
Wonderful. Now, I think I just wanted to highlight, just getting back to attorneys as well, I mean, decision makers, there is an advantage too in having your decision makers live close to you, because that could just be in a practical sense quite handy, couldn't it? I mean, some people might have their children who could have moved, to other parts of the country or indeed internationally. That can make decision making challenging at times, can't it?
It really depends on the circumstances. I've encountered many people that have been decision makers, and some haven't
Yep.
resided in the Northern Territory or, in fact, even in Australia. And it really just depends on the person that you're appointing and your circumstances. It's a very personal decision, and ultimately, it's up to an individual to decide what's best for them.
Right. Yeah, no, good advice. So, a lot of people, when thinking about choosing the right decision maker, often choose their spouse, or their partner, or very good friends. But, if someone like me, I'm almost 60 years of age, those people are around the same age as me. So, the chances of them losing capacity, or indeed something happening to them is, probably at the same level as my own. So, there is some advantage, isn't there, in choosing somebody younger, because these documents can be in effect for a very long time. And if there is an advantage, can you put substitute decision makers into your advanced personal plan?
So you can decide how the decision makers are appointed. So you can have fallback options in an advanced
Yep.
personal plan. The other possibility as well is, again, people should be reviewing these documents every 1 to 3 years at the most to make sure that they're still addressing your needs or it's still fit for purpose. So
Yeah.
that there are ways to address these situations.
Yeah.
And again, if you're unsure, you can always seek legal advice, and we can provide legal advice free of charge.
Right. So I mean, you're suggesting people should review their advanced personal plan every few years. Can you, what's the process if you want to go about revoking or changing your advanced personal plan?
So there's a few ways to do it. The most general way is making a new one, but it needs to cover all the same things and have an inconsistency. So the previous one will be revoked to the extent of the inconsistency.
Hmm.
Or generally, there's just the standard revocation process. Again, as to which one would apply or be best in a situation. Oh, you can also vary but it's called amending an advanced personal plan, so you can change the existing one too. The person just needs to have planning capacity when doing any of these three things. Again, the best option in an individual's circumstance would probably be to seek legal advice on which one is the best avenue to effect the changes that they want.
Right. So what happens in the situation that your advanced personal plan is enacted and, there are allegations or concerns from people close to you that there is a level of abuse taking place, which could be neglect. It could be that money is starting to disappear or that assets are starting to be sold in a way that concerns people. How do you go about dealing with that issue of raising alarms and getting some action?
Yeah, very good question. And this is where I guess guardianship gets a bit of an edge over an advanced personal plan, because with guardianship, there's that regular reassessment to make sure that the guardian is complying with the Guardianship of Adults Act. Whilst with advanced personal plan, there isn't a regular scheduled reassessment process.
Mm-hmm.
Now, typically, there's two avenues. The first one is making or reporting the concerns to the Office of the Public Guardian and the Public Trustee, so that they can hopefully investigate it, and reporting it to the police as well, because an offence might be being committed.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of the disciplinary/criminal avenue. There's also a civil avenue, which is applications that can be made to the Northern Territory Civil and Administrative Tribunal.
Mm-hmm.
The tribunal, if the person has impaired decision-making capacity, the tribunal has the power to amend or revoke an advanced personal plan in certain circumstances, and it can include to a power. It extends to a power to remove a decision maker from an advanced personal plan as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, once you've made your advanced personal plan and you've lost capacity, you can't change it, can you?
No, so at that stage, that's when if your planning capacity is impaired, and again, this is where it's not a simple yes or no, because it really depends on what is impaired.
Yeah.
The advanced personal plan is normally what you're looking at is decision-making capacity in relation to personal matters and or financial matters.
Yes.
Planning capacity is really just the capacity to be able to make an advanced personal plan.
Right.
So you can understand what the different factors are. You can weigh them up, and then you can make the plan. So if planning capacity is impaired, that's the situation where no further changes can be made to the advanced personal plan, unless those changes are made by the Northern Territory Civil and Administrative Tribunal.
Right. Now, a question that I suppose I should have asked a bit earlier. Who decides if you have capacity or not?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Now, firstly, I'll just start with the concept of capacity and how it needs to be addressed. So there's always the presumption that a person has decision-making capacity until the contrary is shown. Now, there is no real uniform guidance on who actually determines it. It's basically based on what someone's willing to accept. Now,
Mm-hmm.
typically, I would not be seeing someone who's holding themselves out to be a decision maker under an advanced personal plan unless they presented to me both a copy of the advanced personal plan and medical evidence that the person subject to that advanced personal plan's capacity is impaired. Because in my view, really only a doctor with a relevant specialization should be making an assessment as to someone's decision-making capacity.
So it's just a geriatricianist?
Yeah, if the issue is something to do with like dementia, for example, that would be the most relevant specialist to be dealing with it.
Yeah.
This is probably an area for potential law reform to have a set test over or a set criteria or standard as to who actually is qualified to assess capacity.
Yeah.
Alternatively, where there is doubt as to decision-making capacity and a decision maker is concerned and they just want to do things right, typically the process would be to arrange for an assessment for the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the medical practitioner basically if they're not satisfied with exercising authority just based on the medical practitioner's report alone, a decision maker can apply to the Northern Territory Civil and Administrative Tribunal for a declaration that the person's decision-making capacity is impaired. So there's at least a tribunal order stating that they've reviewed the evidence, so the medical evidence, and they've formed the view that the person's capacity is impaired, and therefore the decision maker, it's clear that they have authority to now make those decisions.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Now, I'll also highlight there is an article on Compass called Having Capacity. I highly recommend it. There's a nice short video there too that you can watch. For those of you who are joining us today, I just wanted to highlight the theme of the series we're giving around Australia, You Decide Who Decides, is a guide to making an enduring power of attorney or an advanced personal plan. And this document is available. It has just been published, a new edition. It's available on compass.info, and it's published by the Australian Guardianship and Administration Council, I should say. It comes with some helpful short videos, but you'll be able to find that by clicking on the Enduring Powers of Attorney topic on Compass. Well, there's a big banner on our homepage at the moment for this series of events. So a really helpful document. It has a lot of what Solomon has been talking about today, and it has state and territory specific information. Now, I've got a few more questions whilst we've got everybody here today. So one of my questions is, say you lived in one of the southern states and you have moved to the Northern Territory. So you have an enduring power of attorney, let's say from Victoria, and you've subsequently moved to the Northern Territory, and that's where you intend to live. Do you need to get an advanced personal plan, or does the document that you had in place from Victoria work?
It's a very good question, but I've got to break it down into two separate ways to address it. Now, the first one is that first answer is there is a mutual recognition scheme, so it's recognised in the Northern Territory.
Mm-hmm.
But the more specific question is, do I need an advanced personal plan? That's something where someone should seek legal advice if they're unsure, or whether they believe that the new document is, the existing document is going to be enough to satisfy their needs, or whether they should make an advanced personal plan. That's something where it's up to the individual as to whether or not they want to seek legal advice on that.
Yeah. Lots of helpful information again on Compass. It does hark back to this issue that we face in this country, and that these documents are different. There are different rules, and the documents have different scope requirements depending on where you live in the country, which can make it very confusing for people. So it really is important for everyone to read up and to be very aware about what applies, particularly as the Northern Territory has put in place an advanced personal plan, which is a very different document in some ways to an enduring power of attorney in New South Wales. And so, yes, very, very helpful to make sure that people read up, because they're not the same. Is there an expense to creating an advanced personal plan? I mean, that's one of the things people are concerned about is, speaking with lawyers can become expensive, and filling out these forms and lodging them. It can all add up. But what's the cheapest option, or what options are available in the Northern Territory? I know you've spoken about your own individual service.
So an advanced personal plan, it's designed so that individual people can draft them without necessarily needing a lawyer's expertise or a lawyer to do it. Now, if someone is unsure or they do want to seek legal advice, they can always draft the APP or start drafting it, and then they can call us if they have any questions or want advice. Again, 89821111, and be booked in for a free legal appointment to get that advice in preparing the advanced personal plan.
Fantastic. Now, we've spoken a little bit about the fact that these documents come with a degree of power. And if they're registered, you can be selling real estate on behalf of somebody. How can people go about, what's the best way that they can protect themselves from the potential of abuse? I mean, I guess choosing the right people is a great place to start, but are there any other recommendations or things you think people should consider?
With all things, it's better to put systems in place to prevent something from happening rather than reacting after it's already happened.
Mm.
Regarding an advanced personal plan, some of the mechanisms that someone can use to ensure that it's or try and promote or prevent something bad from happening, sorry, would be register the advanced personal plan so that there's a copy with various bodies like the public trustee, land titles office if that's needed, with your healthcare provider, so that there's a consistent copy across different stakeholders in case someone's been changing it or trying to make changes to it. And also letting family and friends know of your wishes if you're comfortable doing that, because
Mhm.
generally it's the sort of thing where people don't want to talk about it. And they don't have to if they don't want to. It's the individual's choice. But
Mhm.
it does generally help the more people you have that understand what your wishes are, because they're the people that are probably needed to identify if something's going wrong later down the track.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, good advice. Um, when's the ideal time to make an advanced personal plan? We often, I guess I'm assuming the law is anybody over the age of 18 with capacity can
Correct.
make one in the Northern Territory. But when is a good time to make one?
So it's a very good question. Now, I think that one of the issues is that with advanced personal plans, people seem to conflate it with being in a later stage of life.
Yeah.
But that's just not the purpose of it. It applies to everyone that's an adult. People can lose capacity at any stage in their life. So if someone wants to, if someone's concerned about what arrangements will be in place in the event that their capacity, decision-making capacity, becomes impaired, and that can include something like getting hit by a car and ending up in a coma, or even like
Yeah.
it can happen at any stage in your life.
Yeah.
Um, that would be a time to consider whether or not, if you wanted to make those arrangements for that concern, to sit down and maybe have a think about making an advanced personal plan and what you'd want to put in there.
Yeah. So really, I guess it could be made much earlier. You don't have to
Correct.
be in your 50s or 60s or 70s. You could be making it in your 20s and 30s. So, and then reviewing it. We've got another question here from Samantha. Samantha asks, can the advanced personal plan be registered with My Health Record for doctors, hospitals to access or see if a person has one that presents and does not have capacity to make medical decisions? We're talking specifically about financial decisions. Does the advanced personal plan, well, allow you to make medical decisions? I guess is one part of the question that Samantha is asking. And can it be registered with My Health Record?
So my understanding is that it can. You can provide a copy with any healthcare provider,
Yeah.
and if an advanced personal plan just generally is making things like advanced consent decisions about healthcare, it probably is best to have a copy with the hospital and your regular doctor.
Yeah, yeah. So, and thank you, Emily, for saying yes and yes. Now, it's not the case in every part of the country that a document like this allows you to make health and lifestyle decisions. In New South Wales, it is not the case, and you would need an enduring guardian document put in place. So that is really helpful. Thank you, Emily, for clarifying that in the Northern Territory, an advanced personal plan does go beyond financial decisions. Something else that I wanted to ask you about is in other parts of the country, whilst we are ostensibly talking about financial decisions, um, you know, health and lifestyle, is a part of the advanced personal plan. Is there an advanced care directive in the Northern Territory like there is in other parts of the country, or does that just get wrapped up in the advanced personal plan?
Yeah, so a very good question. Now, the advanced personal plan is really designed to cover everything. So
Right.
there's typically, I'm just going off the top of my head, but there's five sections.
Yep.
Two are compulsory and three are voluntary. They don't need to be completed. Now, the two compulsory ones, for obvious reasons, it's the details about who you are so that they can identify whose advanced personal plan it is, and the signature page where it's all executed,
Yeah.
to show that it's valid and has been
Yes.
executed by the person. Then there's this is it's sort of like a sandwich. Those are the two slices of bread, and in between are the three voluntary sections. Theoretically, someone could just do that first one, write their name, sign the last page, and technically have a valid advanced personal plan. It just wouldn't
Right.
state anything else.
Yes.
Um, the three voluntary sections are called the advanced care statements. Now, this is just where someone expresses their wishes and preferences. It's not legally binding, it's just to provide guidance to a decision maker or a healthcare provider in the event that they have to make a decision, to help them basically exercise not substituted, supported decision making. So working
Mhm.
out, it helps guide them to work out what you would have done in the event that you had capacity.
Mhm.
The next section is called the advanced consent decisions. These are legally binding healthcare decisions. And basically, it's where you outline the healthcare treatment you do not consent to and stuff that you're okay with.
Yeah.
Um, the final section, or second last section in the grand scheme of things, but the final voluntary section is the appointment of the decision makers, where you appoint them, you state what you're giving them authority for, personal matters, financial matters, or both, and you state how they make decisions if you're appointing more than one decision maker, so joint, several, or other.
Right, right. Thank you. That's lots of information. Thank you so much, Solomon. It's been such a wide-ranging conversation. We only have a few minutes left. I've got two more questions that I'd like to put to you. So if you have any other questions, please do pop them into the Q&A. My first of the two questions is around conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
And I guess I wanted to ask you this question from a few different perspectives. One is that when you are thinking of your decision makers, I think you've got to consider it, don't you, that there are no inherent conflicts of interest in place. And then could you talk to us a little bit more generally about when you're a decision maker in ways you can avoid common conflicts of interest, sort of pitfalls?
Yeah. Now, it's a very difficult thing because with the Guardianship of Adults Act, conflicts of interest is part of the suitability criteria when the tribunal is determining whether someone is suitable to be a guardian. So if there is a conflict of interest, it's a very relevant consideration. Now, with the advanced personal plan, because of its nature, which is you are deciding, it's you who's deciding what you want, there's no safeguard with conflicts of interest because
Right.
the presumption is that that's what you wanted. You were aware that they had the conflict of interest, or you weren't aware of it, but you just weren't concerned, and you're okay with it. There's no suitability test for a decision maker under an advanced personal plan because it's about you and what you
Okay.
want. Um, Now, it's ultimately a question for the decision maker as to how they wish or how they want to manage that conflict of interest because you can still have the conflict of interest and still be complying with the legislation. That's the thing.
Mhm.
Um, Ultimately, I would say for a decision maker or someone who's in the stages of preparing an advanced personal plan who is aware of a conflict and is unsure about how to approach that situation, in either case, the best thing either can do is seek legal advice. And again, we can provide free legal advice either to a
Yep.
decision maker who wants advice on how to approach a situation where a conflict has arisen or may arise, and we can also give advice to a person who's in the stages of preparing an advanced personal plan or have prepared one, and they're concerned about a conflict or a potential conflict with one of the decision makers.
Mhm. Yeah, very helpful. That's very helpful. Um, Very much a grey area, that one. We've got a question from Emily here. If someone came to the Darwin Community Legal Service and didn't know what they wanted to put into their advanced personal plan, I'm assuming that they could sit down with you or someone from the service and actually get some support and information and guidance on what to include. I'm assuming that's kind of what you would provide.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
we aren't going to tell you what to put in there because it's your decision. It's about you. Again, you decide who
Or
decides.
what you could include.
Yeah, but we give you guidance. So we'll go through the document with you. We'll explain what all the sections mean and give examples of what sort of things can be put in there and what can't. And then it's just a matter of if you either preparing the document or if there's further questions, there's no limit to the number of appointments someone can have with us. So they
Right.
can always come back for follow-up advices.
Fantastic. Now, my last question is sort of related to conflicts of interest. What happens if the relationships between your decision makers break down and they can no longer reach agreement on making decisions? Uh, what happens in that situation? Does someone have to take that issue to the tribunal in the Northern Territory and say, "Hey, look, we've reached an impasse. We can't agree on anything anymore." Is that their only avenue for remedying the situation?
So there are a few possibilities.
Right.
The most common one would be going to the tribunal to have the issue addressed there. So that's generally the most common option. The
Mhm.
tribunal has quite broad powers. So again, they can amend an advanced personal plan, or they could revoke it, or they can give directions to the decision makers. Now, the other option is that sometimes decision makers they may not be able to agree, or they reach an impasse on certain issues or matters, but they may be able to agree on alternative solutions, which could be anything as broad as someone retiring as an advanced as a decision maker. So that might cease the impasse at that stage if that person is no longer willing to be a decision maker. They retire as a decision maker, and the others continue. Or alternatively, they might, if they're jointly appointed, they might decide for this one, we apply to the tribunal, we present our cases, we let the tribunal decide how that's to be addressed.
Yeah.
And then that specific issue or impasse or decision that needs to be made will be made by the tribunal instead.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Solomon. Thank you so much. It has been a delight to hear from you today and for you to share your expertise. Thank you for everybody that joined us for this conversation. This video recording will be emailed to everybody that registered, will be sent out tomorrow or Monday at the latest, along with links to the You Decide Who Decides guide. And videos, as well as just some really key sections on Compass to help you with conflict resolution, an introduction to an advanced personal plan, how to choose an attorney, and so much more. Now, I just wanted to finish by saying that Compass is a project of Elder Abuse Action Australia. So compass.info is a national information hub, as I mentioned, tackling elder abuse in all its forms. If you are experiencing abuse or you're aware of abuse, you can call the National Elder Abuse Helpline on 1800 353 374. And by all means, if you'd like to hear from us, we have a monthly newsletter. You can register on our website. But Solomon, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us, and have enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.